Hello and welcome to the After Church Tea Time. I'm here with Anvensha and we're here talking about overcoming challenges on your twin flame union. And what a powerful sermon. I just loved what Alexandra and Lau had to share. Um, just so incredible. Yeah, just really powerful message. Is there anything that stood out for you, Anvensha?
Yeah, definitely. When I was hearing the sermon, this thing about, like overcoming temptations as well, and it's just not about the outer temptations, but even, when you're working on your union, like how we underestimate sometimes the amount of love that we may require to bring it to completion. And like when Alexandra asked this question, that when did you actually feel when you completed something, like you completed a healing, you completed a mirror exercise, you completed some work. So it's about, if things are not happening, or probably you may feel that, you're not coming into union, no matter how much healing you are doing, it's always, like it's like there are some deep blocks. So instead of, just looking here and there, giving into temptations, it's best to focus on loving yourself more, bringing more and more presence and more love in your life, and it will come to completion. It will, you will get there.
No, I love that. I love that because I feel like there's been so many times in my journey where I'm like, I'm about to come into union. It's gonna happen. And then like like a wrench and I'm like, oh, okay. That's not what I expected. And it's very easy to get disappointed and and just completely get sidetracked by
Yeah.
um your experience, even though the oneness that you experience is true and real and right. Um, but I can just like so many times that's been happening. But um I feel like there were a lot of places personally in my journey that I had to heal like disassociative
Mm.
patterns where I was so numbed out. I had a very difficult childhood. And if you asked me like 5, 6, 7 years ago if I had like a traumatic childhood, I would tell you no. But because I didn't really want to face what my family was showing me, I didn't like there was a lot of shame around some patterns, and then like I was shaming myself for shaming myself. So naturally, I didn't want to feel those feelings. That's what Alexandra was talking about, like not wanting to feel the bad feelings. And I was projecting all of the feelings I had about myself. I was projecting them on my business and then wondering why my business wasn't growing, right? It's like I'm putting the fire out, whatever on my business. Like I'm not giving it the life that it needs and the love that it needs because I'm mad at it because it's not doing what I want it to do. And I can't like control the process. I can't like, that makes sense. Like I can even feel the frustration what that was back then and really recognizing that there were places that I was tuned out to myself. And I remember after several years of healing, I started like I would leave work and my whole like heart would open up and I would feel myself and I'm like, well, this is weird and I love my job. I have a ballet school and like I love the work that I do and I like intentionally manifested the life of my dreams. So I'm like, this did not make any sense. Why am I shutting down? But I was fearing rejection from my clients, from my students, from my teachers. I was just like waiting for the email that was going to shut me down, if that makes sense. And I still haven't gotten that one email that I'm afraid of. I haven't had any clients screaming at me, you know, but it's just that fear of rejection that was keeping me like stuck in this disassociative pattern. And that's because I had a lot of self-rejection that I was creating, but I couldn't feel it, right? And because I'm in the health and wellness industry and dance and like I eat well, I exercise, I'm with a chiropractor twice a week. Like I do all of these things that are not rejecting. But if you have like emotions and yeah, it's just like emotional abuse. Like I was like shaming myself for like everything that I didn't complete and everything that I felt that I couldn't fix. I was like upset with myself instead of having love and compassion. Um, and now that I'm having more love and compassion, I'm having like new ideas and I'm starting that process of like, okay, what does it feel like to, like, I love that you mentioned what Alexandra shared because I'm like, there's so many places in my life I feel like I don't fully complete things. I'm like, oh, I'll put that off. And so it's like, sometimes it feels like it's never complete. Like in my industry in ballet, that like it's endless. It's endless. Like you could just like there's no end to your growth, which I always love, but then you never get that sense of completion. Like, oh, okay, well, I got this job, so I can feel like dot dot dot, right? It's just much more abstract than that, right? It's like, um, and so yeah, so it makes me like reevaluate what that looks like to feel complete, you know? Like, what does it feel like to actually, I think I've been having a little apathy around that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. Like you mentioned that, 5 years ago, if anybody would ask you, like how numbed out we were, and like we're still healing from that numbing out. Like I still experience that sometimes. The only difference that I feel that maybe 5 years ago, I would just numb it out and never look back. But now it's like, even if there is resistance to feel into it, or probably like it could be like a trauma response where you're like not wanting to fully feel your feelings, but it is like, after 15 minutes or probably 20 minutes or some time, there's this inner voice, like the connection that has been built, that, oh, you're just numbing out to it and you really need to complete this. You need to feel through it. So I feel that is the difference when you pick on things, when you start to build that and you don't give into the outer temptations, but you really do desire to, build that connection. Like how you said about the rejection, like what I am really experiencing is this completion energy with the retirement energy, probably like the exiting earth, because it just like, even though bringing present, it kicks back in sometimes, and I'm like
Yeah.
all about life purpose, all about my union. One day I'll like, wake up with like, infinite energy, and I'll like, I'm gonna win over the world and everything, and 5 days later it's like, yo, it's there, I am on the breakthrough, I am on this, and then suddenly the energy drops and I don't want to do this, I just want to rest. So that is there, and but luckily, thankfully, we do have the work, we do have mirror exercise, we do have the teaching, so it just doesn't let the ball drop completely. Before that, we do like, the extreme, I would say extreme or probably loving support system that we have in this community, the community itself, through the teachings, through our gurus, through our coaches, who are like on always there. If not, like open forum, you're like your consciousness keeps bringing you back that, yeah, this is where you're rejecting, this is where you're abandoning, this is where you're doing this. But it helps us come to the completion, and this thing, that pattern of like, oh, I've healed. Now, where is the result? Where is the twin flame? Where is this? That has all,
Yeah.
like, I remember how I started. Like, I used to ask, why I used to like, read. I was too much into card readings, and I was like, oh, I have to start inner work? Sure. Dear cards, how many sessions do I need to take to come into my union? And cards
Right.
said, like, card came. So it was like 13 numbers. I was like, oh, I need to take 13 sessions. Then it's been like over 3 years now. We are still doing the work. How much we are stuck in illusions into, I feel like also it's about earlier it was more about jumping to the finish line
Right.
instead of enjoying what you're really doing. Like, even if I'm pouring that love into myself, it was not to like embrace it, but to, yeah, complete it. But that completion came from a very ego pattern where now we feel that what's the difference? It's more calm, it's peace, and it's like that faith that, oh, even if what I am moving through is not showing me results in the physical right now, because there is more, and we can keep doing the work, and the breakthrough will happen when the healing is done.
Yeah. No, I love what you shared about skipping, because there's a lot of talk even I think in like a lot of my friends are coaches and some of them are ascension coaches and some of them are just coaches. Like I just yeah, and so there's even a lot of talk within the coaching community around like jumping timelines and manifesting faster. And while yeah, I mean, yeah, you can sort of manifest faster, but you can't avoid the work. Like none of us can avoid the work. And you might be able to temporarily jump a timeline and have a windfall, right? But then you're sort of like what I've experienced is that then you're sort of choosing this inconsistent love where like really what even just sharing this is I'm noticing it's like when I first was on this journey, I was like, okay, well, all right, I'm going to do this self-love thing to get my twin flame, right? Not realizing that, my twin flame was helping me really to fall in love with myself, to trust myself, to honor myself, to listen to myself. And a lot of the experiences that I had, while I can kind of project and be like, gosh, God, really? Like, why did you give me this life? But really, God was like putting thorns in my rose bush so that I would really open up into the loving person that I am, not just to others, but to myself. And that whether it's a business or your life purpose or your union with God and yourself and with love itself is like it's about having that consistent, stable, safe love, right? Not this like windfall of love, right? Like I don't know, I think it just gets very romanticized, like love and relationships and money. It gets very like romanticized, but I think it's like the everyday moments that we're with ourselves that we're learning to reprogram. We're learning to notice, oh, wait, is that the voice of God or is that the voice of ego? Would ego tell me that I'm not like I should get it together? Like, or that I'm wrong or that I'm like, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of like random thoughts that I might have that would be ego based. But ultimately, anything that feels bad is going to be ego. So if it feels bad, right, the feeling may feel true, but it's something to work. It's something to work through and not to align to. And I found too in my like family dynamics is like when I was shining, when I was really happy, when I was really working through things emotionally in a healthy way, I was sort of shut down. And so
Hmm.
there's like a huge fear that I developed around being my shiny, bright self. And so, and really what that was teaching me too is like now I'm heading into life purpose. And I love my ballet school and probably I don't know what that looks like later on, but I do know that I really feel called to share the message of the teachings of union which is very well, it's very sane, it's very natural, it's very logical, it's very loving. It's like the religion that I always wanted to find, but I just was really like I kept trying to find churches, but I found that they weren't really aligned with love, and the people within them weren't really changing and changing their own hearts. And so it felt very bad. And so I love the teachings of union because the community within it, like everybody is recognizing and taking responsibility for their upsets, for their hurts, for their pain, for their trauma, and changing. And that's what I love about this is like when you do a mirror exercise, you can complete and heal and come right back to your harmonious union within. Um, and to me, that's more powerful than any amount of money, any job I could have. Like it's the pearl, right? It's the pearl that's only created the through the grit of the sand and the pressure of life. And so um anyway, that's just what I love about the teachings of union, and um yeah, that it brings me that peace that I've always been wanting and desiring.
Yeah. I love like how you express that, how wanting to and desiring to be in harmonious union is something bigger and greater than. I feel like that is also the purpose, to even like what I really feel is that people who are in non-twin flame relationships somewhere are in pain, are not feeling complete while being together, but still that is what they feel is completion. Because like when you have tasted the honey, you'll never want to go back. But it's like that it's that feeling where they don't even want to explore what God has for them. And I feel like it's also comes from that feeling of like that deep unworthiness, that oh, I can't have anything bigger than that.
Yeah.
And that is where what people want to, when they get exposed to, after like some people meet their twin flames earlier than even knowing that this person, like I met my twin flame 8 years ago, and for many years I didn't know this person is my twin flame. So even though mirroring was happening, I was really not able to understand what was happening. But it was like now when I feel that it's like why jumping was happening, that because when I wasn't aware that this person could be my twin flame, or I wasn't even aware that twin flames are real or twin flames exist, the deep longing of wanting to be with this person, because the love that I had felt for him is something that I had never experienced. So suddenly, after some years of losing hope that we can never be together, not in this lifetime, or probably so many people telling me, just cut your cords and do this, and he's just gonna
Right.
go. Well, first time, and I'm like, he's my twin flame. We are meant to be together. So I wanted to just jump, give it to me. I
Yeah.
just wanted to give it to me. But that is where you will invite, but that is where you like we are anyways fast tracking our process
Yeah.
through the work, mirror exercise, through the teachings. But this wanting to jump the timelines is also where the need for building the foundation work, like the foundation work, that it's inner, it's not outer. Like, I might just go and grab my twin flame and tell him that you're my twin flame and we have to be in union. It might happen, but again, the pattern is to see outside, and then the mirroring happens, and I'll just want to hold him guilty for everything. And that is when, because the foundation of wanting to look inside and feeling through my feelings is not completely built, and that is where, people experience more upset. So, as Jeff and Shelly also say that, it's meant to be, it's your birthright, but prepare yourself, be ready for your union. So, it's about not jumping the timelines or not wanting to grab it, but basically, again, building that foundation where you are having that relationship with God, like that harmonious, sustainable relationship with God. And you don't have to, like, completely heal because that's perfect union to be with your twin flame. You're healing, and as you do the work, it will manifest in your reality.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I think too, I think just building like, yeah, what you said, like building your foundation and like starting to have like a relationship with God, like you start to really recognize like the signs. Like I remember early on, like all the coaches in the forum would be like, okay, well, what are the signs? What does it feel like? What is it? And now like I have things just happen. I'm like, oh, well, I'll get it like right away. Sometimes there's multiple meanings behind something, and that just feels really good that like God loves me so much that he'll like bring me these signs of clarity, these signs of reassurance, that I am supported and that I'm loved. Um and I think that too like brings me back like kind of full circle where it's like when you're learning to step into your life purpose, right? It's like I feel like all the experiences I had in my life have really prepared me to be like more emotionally strong, like really building your emotional intelligence, but like from a teachings of union perspective, which is a whole different thing. I almost feel like I had to do it from scratch, right? Like rebuild my whole life from scratch with the teachings of union. And I thought that I had emotional intelligence, um, but it's a muscle that I'm still continually building. Um, but I'm recognizing that, because, when new concepts and ideas come to the world, it, oftentimes, like when Jesus was here on earth, right? Like people were fighting tooth and nail for, the ego, they're fighting for their rituals and customs, and Jesus just wanted people to find love within and find their own love and their own divinity within. And it's just one example. I know there's a lot of a lot of great like prophets and things too, but or embodiments of God who've come to earth in different cultures. Um, but it's just like one example how it was just ridiculed and challenged. And so that is like, I think the nature of, yeah, it's just the nature of bringing something new is first it's rejected before it's, really accepted. And so um, it does take courage to stand up for your beliefs and what feels really true. And I'm just like really recognizing that that's kind of what what I was being prepared for. Um, but it's hard to see that when you're just like you're in the middle of like trying to figure out this whole journey. Like you can't see what God sees. You have to just keep taking that next step and just trusting that like when you're ready, you'll have the full picture. And so, and that for me, that's what like feels really complete. As I continue to heal, I keep getting more of the picture of what God has for me. And so that's what's very reassuring. And it's not anything of what I thought or expected in my life, but um, yeah, just learning to, yeah, just surrender to what that is. So it's a process.
That's really wonderful. Like, even having that realization of, like, the programming shift, and then being able to accept it within our own first. And, because I feel like the moment you start doing the work, you start with the work, it leads to like whole identity crisis. Like, who am I? I was built, raised this way, and but this is my truth. Like, what's really the truth? And who am I? Like, this is how I used to recognize myself. And now this, like, everything is challenged. Everything is like, because all the old foundations are falling apart, breaking, something that we no longer need. But again, like, it's just about keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, and you're gonna get there. Like, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I wanted to share too, like, because I loved this sermon. I need to go back and listen again because they were so powerful about talking about how does it feel to complete something? Because I think so often, like going back when I had those moments where I thought I was coming into union and then it just like poof, boom, like no, not now, not happening. It like it felt devastating at the time. But I think it's really, but I look back now, if I had of like, and I remember like there were moments that would have been very easy to quit. And
Yeah.
yeah, I remember, yeah, and then I went to Sedona a few years ago, and I remember, at the wedding, Jeff had shared with everyone, that twin flame union is for you too. I remember like claiming that in my heart at that time, and I think, and then it and then I had to continually heal all the places where my twin flame was telling me that that wasn't true, right? Um, but I feel like too, I look back at like even the last year of my healing, like I would not have faced all of the things that, and I'm getting emotional now, but like I do feel like this huge sense of peace, relief, resolve, having been able to work through some of the biggest challenges in my life and to recognize that that's not my story. Like I get to, like I'm still in the middle of like rewriting my story. And so I guess that's why I'm a little emotional. But I think the powerful thing is that like if I had a stopped like in the middle of the river, like I would have just been so lost. Like really the only way forward was just to keep going and to complete my healing. And so, um, yeah, and so of course there's emotions when you're working through challenges, but the peace that you get on the other side of that, because I remember thinking like, what is everybody talking about? All this peace, and I didn't have like any sort of like really deep peace until about a year ago, and then I've just been grieving kind of my old life and grounding in my new one this year, and anyway, and I think that's, just really deciding that you can complete your healing. Like it's not for the faint of heart, um, but you can complete it. You can heal through all the things and become whole. And I think that's like the biggest thing is realizing that I'm not incomplete without my twin flame. I'm complete unto myself. And you want to get to a place where you feel complete and whole because we are. Like God didn't make you a half. You were made a whole. So it's only natural that you heal into the place that you feel whole and that you feel enough and that you feel loved and that you belong and like all the things that you want.
Yeah, that's so true. And that's so beautiful how you shared it. Like, you literally put feelings into the word, like, into all the words you said.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a journey, right? But I wouldn't trade it. It's been a beautiful journey. And, I'm just so grateful to the teachings of Union, to Jeff and Shaleia, my coaches, like, my dynamic process, and Chrissy. And yeah, it's just, yeah.
And the more like you go deeper in the work, this calling and this desire to share it with more and more people so that they can like truly feel what love is and understand what love is and what peace is, that I feel just keeps expanding. Like, you wanting to serve more and more and more and more people. It's just like, yeah, it comes so naturally.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. I love that. I love that. Well, this is so lovely to get to know you, Amdinsha, and yeah, thank you. All right. Well, those of you watching, feel free to head over to unionism.org, share a tithing and a gift so we can continue to share this message so that everybody can love themselves and be in harmony with themselves. All right. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Bye now. Thanks.